You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla Kallander and Andrew Yaggie. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
Welcome to episode 42 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Kayla Kallander and I'm a mortgage lender.
And I'm Andrew Yaggie and I'm a real estate agent.
Hello, Andy. How's it going today?
Hey, I'm doing really well. How are you, Kayla?
I'm wonderful. Are you somewhere else today? Are you traveling? Are you flying?
I am. I'm doing a little flying. I'm out in Bismarck, North Dakota, doing kind of a contract trip out here for a group, and
Nice.
got into my office this morning, took care of business, and kind of hopped in and flew out here. Had a delicious lunch. Actually, saw. I think I found the real estate agent title staff like hangout out here because
Ah,
I've been at this restaurant one other time and seen a lot of agents and actually met with an agent out here, for some lunch to kind of
oh,
just chat, and then saw kind of a number of individuals out here who I recognize as agents. So
the spot to be, the hub to be.
yeah, but it's a great day to fly. It's a great, beautiful weather. Spring is coming, and it's a great day to talk real estate, Kayla.
It is. Well, how long does it take you to fly to Bismarck from, like, how long does that usually take you?
Yeah, kind of depending on the winds, up to an hour, probably 45 minutes back today. So it's really a pretty quick trip in a twin engine
Yeah, a lot.
turboprop airplane.
Yeah, a lot shorter than driving. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
What's going on with you and mortgage and Fargo?
Fargo, we have sunny skies. I feel like I always have to talk about the weather right away. But I see warm weather creeping up. I was super busy Friday for it being Easter weekend. I had probably 8 people looking to write offers, looking to get into homes over the weekend. So that's really cool. And even on Easter, I had clients reaching out. So I don't know if there were open houses, but I mean, this is the time of year we see things start to pick up for sure. Even, with the warmer weather too, it helps. But we've been fortunate to have nice weather for a while here. But I'm seeing it pick up. I'm seeing things get a little, people more serious. They're not just asking for payment. They're saying, what's the breakdown of the numbers? What can I expect? When can we close? And that's when I know they're serious about writing an offer.
That's really awesome because oftentimes, especially for you as a lender, it can be a little bit challenging kind of trying to separate, those that are just kind of out kicking the tires from those who, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm serious. I'm ready to buy.
Yeah, I mean, you can really spin your wheels a lot, and I don't even mean it like in a bad way, but you can be running numbers constantly for people. I've had clients, because of lack of inventory, they just can't find that home or the numbers don't make sense. But, you know, sometimes it takes a while, but it's really cool when you finally see clients being serious. They're not just curious about the payment, they're seriously considering it.
I would agree with you. And so that brings up a great topic that, people out there probably would take some interest in as well too. Where do you draw the line? Because of course, we're people pleasers. We want to be everything to everyone. Where do you draw the line as far as, the number of pre-approvals or, the number of conversations with an individual?
Drawing the line is tough. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not the type of lender that's going to say, it doesn't sound like you should apply. It just maybe wait a year. Because what I like to do is say, apply now. This gives us, if you're not ready, this gives us time to prepare. I mean, what I like to do is even if I know people might not have the best score or the best scenario, I can still act as an advisor and say, oh, okay, your score is lower. I think it's because of ABC on your credit. Or, seeing the programs you qualify for, we're going to see a little bit more in your account. But it's funny, on Friday, I had 2 people that were so nervous to apply and hear the news. And they applied, and it was no big deal at all. She was terrified of her score. She was like, I just don't feel super confident. I just don't know what to expect. And now they're out shopping homes today. And had she not just taken that step to try, I mean, it's hard to put like a limit or a time or a cutoff or how many. It's just like, you know what, do an application. Let me see, your actual numbers, what we're dealing with. And whether it's now or it's in a year, at least you have a professional and expert guiding you. So that's kind of my thought on it.
I like that. I think that's a good answer. That's fair as well. I just asked because I had seen online an agent kind of talking about this thing, and one particular agent, was very frustrated and said,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, I've been working with these people that were great friends of mine. I've been working with them for years to find the right house. And, we looked at 70 houses, and then they texted me as I was following up on a house we looked at, and they were deciding that they were going another direction and just worked with another agent,
Oh my.
which was heartbreaking, and I think probably ended a friendship as well.
Oh,
And, so it kind of made me ponder it a little bit too. And, I guess the biggest conclusion I've come to, and in the past, I mean, I've probably shown some groups 20, not more than 30 homes ever. And I know sometimes it's challenging, especially the market cycle we're coming out of. But,
yeah.
kind of the conclusion that I've come to is that if we're looking at probably 10 homes and, something isn't quite right, we probably have a problem and we need to sit back down. We need to
Mhm.
reevaluate. Because oftentimes, even if you're shopping like with a couple, a husband and wife, or something like
Mhm.
that, sometimes you're shopping for two different homes. You're not
Yeah,
on the same
totally.
page. And so it really, makes sense to take the time to slow down and really refocus.
Mhm.
As agents, I always say, and other people do too, that we're not tour guides. We're agents. We're here to
Yeah.
find the most motivated people that are out there, and to do business and help them reach their goals.
Do you feel, Andy? So I ask this because I ran into this situation. I had a client looking at a condo, and then he went to existing, and then he went to new construction, to now he's looking at assumable loans, to now he's putting 5% down. What advice would you have? So I have my own advice and I'll chime in here, but what advice would you have? Because I often see too, especially with husband and wife, even the comment and question, how much would you like to put down from your sale, like the proceeds from your sale? How much of that would you like to put down? And husband might be like 200,000, but wife is like, well, no, we need the furniture, and we need window treatments. We can't do that. So I have my own thought about this, but what advice would you have for people that are looking to, let's just focus on the buy side, they're looking to buy a home? Do you have any advice for people to kind of narrow their focus? Any thoughts on that?
When you first started, kind of running that scenario by me, that those are all the red flags right there of someone that really isn't a serious buyer. I feel like if they're
Mhm.
looking, I mean, going from condo to single family to new construction, I mean, that just tells me that they don't know what they want and they're not ready to buy. They're probably not ready to look. I mean, sure, run around to some open houses over the weekend, but I wouldn't be spending a lot of time with a buyer like that.
Mhm.
I think it also would require a little bit more of a sit down, and a lot of it comes down to having a good buyer's consultation where you're
Mhm.
really sitting down and you're getting to know these individuals. You're getting to know their why, what makes them tick, really why are they looking for what they're looking for, really figuring all of those pieces out. If you've done a good job of that, you should be able to figure out, probably give or take
Mhm.
10 showings or less, what it is, or to find a good home that's a good fit for this individual. What do you think?
Mhm. I 1,000% agree. I think, there's a lot of just focus around payment and maybe cash at close. But I think, when you're looking at a condo and there's HOAs, that's a whole different program. New construction, that's a whole another beast of, is the builder covering costs? And so from a lender standpoint, it's not just about payment because there's so many different things. Interest rates are usually higher on condos. So in the back of my head, I think, okay, how do we get them both on the same page? So one thing that I do is I kind of do what's called a buyer consult that realtors do, but I call it a discovery call. Before I get an application, I will sit down and ask, what are your fears, your hopes, your dreams? What is your budget per month? We talk about those things. How much are you comfortable parting with? I know you've got 100 grand in the bank account, but what do you want to part with? And if people are not on the same page, which that's okay, they have to discuss that. I just say, you know what, we really want to narrow that down because this could be a difference of 50 to $100 a month in payment. And I don't want to have you guys lose out on a home because you couldn't decide if it was worth it or not. So it's best to kind of figure that out now. So I love when my realtors have their consults and then I can have my discovery call because it's just in order to help these people, we need to guide them, because I think these things come up and they just haven't thought about it sometimes. So to be a serious buyer, I think you need to ask yourself those questions.
Yep, I think 110% right, and that really, boils down to a lot of what we talk about often, and even, kind of transitioning. Last week, Kayla, we talked a lot about some potential changes that are coming down the pipe for real estate agents, and how they're
Mhm.
compensated, and even for consumers and buyers on how they are being represented, and it all starts with great communication and really taking the time. um, there are a lot of people, no doubt, that call you. I know there are, and say, "Kayla, just give me a number. I just need a number. I need a pre-approval. We'll worry about it later." Or people that, reach out and are like, "Hey, I just really want to see the house." Or even one better, over the weekend, I was, reading some agent commentary and just kind of talking about how necessary it is to be working with an agent as a buyer and to have good, solid representation and guidance. A listing agent had taken a call at a house that was for sale, and this couple said, "Hey, we're outside the house. We want to see it now." And the listing agent said, "Hey, I'd love to get you through the door, but it's shown by appointment. Let's set something up." "Well, no, we're here right now." I said, "Yep, I understand that. We need to make an appointment, but we really just want to look through the windows. Is it okay if we just go up to the house and look through the windows? Like, we really just want to make sure we don't get shot." And he said, "Well, no." He said, "This is someone's private home, and I'll have to ask my clients." And these
Yeah.
people still were incredulous and just very frustrated. And um, so to kind of circle back, of course,
Yeah.
last week, Kayla, we talked about these potential changes
Yeah.
that are coming down the pipe. And so if you want a more in-depth discussion, you can tune into our episode last week. Otherwise, Kayla, maybe I'll just share, some of the high
Yeah.
points. Because there are a variety of people. Some of you have maybe never heard anything about this, or more and more people that are asking questions or have heard this. And there are a lot of the large brokerages out there,
Mhm.
and the National Association of Realtors are being sued, basically asserting that they've been price fixing when it comes to commissions, stating an average 6% commission's been charged across the board. And really, commissions have always been negotiable. As I said last time, I mean, I've charged around 1% or a
Yeah.
slightly less, up to 10% or greater, depending on the level of service provided. So commissions are always have been negotiable. They just maybe haven't been talked about quite as much. And now there are some potential changes that
Mhm.
maybe will impact this, some of which being that generally there's a unilateral offering of a commission to a buyer's agent. So if Kayla, if you and Taryn are coming to buy a house,
Mhm.
generally that agent's going to be compensated 99% of the time by the listing agent for
Yes.
bringing you as buyers. That's not necessarily going to happen. Although, Kayla, I have a sneaking suspicion that it will happen more often than not, just because, again, already having conversations with individuals, and talking to some of the builders, and just looking, people want their homes to sell. They're motivated,
Yeah.
and not that an offer of compensation should affect that. But let's be honest, people are motivated by money. And there are some agents that likely won't show a house if compensation maybe isn't offered.
I also think about it too, where, okay, this is a common topic, whether you're on TikTok, on Instagram, you're in the industry, your dentist, your friends, your colleagues, are you're talking about this all. And I think that personally, it's not going to maybe be as impactful in some areas, but I think it's important to just be proactive and be able to articulate to sellers and buyers what this all means. And I love the details that you're showing, Andy, because it's broken down like quite simply. But I think about it, and I actually, over the weekend, Andy, I haven't told you this. I had someone who is a buyer of mine, and they're going to sell their house, and they said to me, Kayla, after I saw this stuff, I don't know if I want to hire a realtor to sell my house, or why would I pay my realtor 6% or whatever it is to sell when I know that a buyer can just handle that, the commission themselves or pay for it themselves. And I said to this individual, I said, but here's the thing, the great part about hiring a realtor to list your home is that they're setting up all the appointments for you. They're doing the work, the marketing, they're allowing the showings, they're doing all this work up front, but they have these connections called other realtors, and these other realtors are bringing someone to your doorstep. You don't have to go out and find, those buyers. So that was just something that came up this weekend, and I kind of had a moment of, by paying your agent less, or having that thought or not hiring an agent at all, you're cutting off the opportunity for buyers to come in and make offers on your home at top dollar. So tell me,
Right.
what you think of that, Andy, because that's just, I'm a lender and I know the value of a real estate agent, but tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, I'll tell you my thoughts, but first I'm gonna tell you Barbara Corcoran's thoughts,
Oh,
Kayla. Are you a follower of Barbara?
I am, and I love Shark Tank. Ugh,
It is good. So Barbara actually, kind of was asked about this, and there was a whole video
yeah.
interview, I think, on Fox News that we can maybe share at another point. But Barbara basically says that she doesn't believe the effects of the settlement will be as earth-shattering as many make them out to be, but that the confusion it's caused is amazing. And probably the high point here, Kayla, is that brokers are confused, buyers and sellers are confused, and I think the people who made the amendments are confused. And at the end of the day, Kayla, here's what's going to happen. It's going to cause a lot of frustration, a lot of confusion. It's going to be a messy, 12 to 18 to 24 months. Um, i- i- are there some people that are going to save some money and get by just fine? Absolutely. But there are a lot of people that are going to have frustrating experiences. I mean, I look at some of the minor things that happen. Like over the weekend, I had one of my listings. It's an
Mhm.
older gentleman who's trying to sell his house, and an agent went and showed it, and someone took one of the screens out of one of the windows, didn't put it back in. They closed the window, but they didn't lock it. As a result, this individual wants to pull his house from the market because he's
Oh
just
my.
so frustrated. He's very happy with our service, but he's so frustrated. So and
Mhm.
and so here I am, trying to be the one to kind of talk him off the ledge. If people are missing that individual, it's going to
Mhm.
be the Wild West, and it's going to be scary. Even before I got into real estate, Kayla, I tried to sell my house on my own, and I made all of the common mistakes. I overpriced it because my comps were better than what the
Yeah.
other agents were. I was I didn't have a good mindset as I was working with other agents or consumers, like, and finally it was just so frustrating. I was like, forget it, just list it, listed for a more reasonable price, and it worked. And I had someone to kind of handle those negotiations. A lot of people are capable of all of that, but it's just when it's something, your largest asset, your house.
Mhm.
I mean, there's just so much that goes into it, and when the
Mhm.
inevitable happens, I mean, very rarely is there a
Mhm.
truly smooth transaction. You need someone here who just doesn't take, I mean, who leaves the emotions out
Mhm.
of the transaction and helps you get to your goal.
I agree with that and 1,000% over and over. And like we talked about last time, I've seen as a lender when clients go unrepresented and to see the level of stress during a time that should be joyous. I truly believe in the power of having representation. I believe in the power of, like I always talk about, someone else highlighting my hair and me not doing it myself. And I think that as we navigate these next few months, I mean, you'll see people will all have their input, their opinions, but at the end of the day, like the cream always rises. And I am grateful that we live where we live because I feel like there's a lot higher quality cream when it comes to work ethic. Is that a thing to say? And I think
I
that
think so.
it'll be just fine. We'll work it out. But I also think we need to be proactive versus reactive.
I really think, Barbara's article, really, really hit me, Kayla, as I was, reading and her just talking about the confusion, and it's just amazing. Like,
Mhm.
some of the mayhem that's online. Like, I've had to snooze so many Facebook groups that I'm a part of just because I don't want to see it. And even after we shot our episode last week, even you had, some individuals reaching out to you, telling you need an education and whatever. When one of the individuals, at least, did not even take the time, to view our episode and
Mhm.
to actually look at, just how we're breaking down the proposed changes, and that again, it's proposed. I mean, there's no guarantee of anything. So point in case the mayhem. But I think some of these individuals also sitting out there thinking, oh, it's just going to be business as usual. We've been way ahead of the
Yeah.
game. We have all of the proper forms and everything, and we're really good at disclosure. I I think that's hogwash. I mean, I do think that we have some good practices in place, but I think there are going to be changes, and it's going to be challenging.
Well, and I think too, things are going to change. They might change catastrophically. It might just be nothing at all. But at the end of the day, do your research, trust your experts. and also listen in on podcasts and read news articles before you just judge that headline, because I have done that too. Clickbait or whatever, you go see something on Instagram and it's like, oh, okay, now that I've actually read and done some research, now I understand. Now this makes sense. So kind of cut through that noise. That's what I'd recommend too to anyone that wants to know more.
Absolutely. And again, I won't highlight too much more other than, Kayla just talking about the fact that, hey, sellers can still offer concessions via the MLS. They could include compensation. Um, Agents aren't able to offer services as free unless there's no financial compensation and so on and so forth. But
Mhm.
those are just, again, for those that maybe didn't catch our episode last week, I'd say go back and watch episode 41. But if not, those are kind of, some high points, as we
Mhm.
look at what potential changes might be coming down the pipe. But even if you're jumping in, whether you're an agent or you're a lender, or especially if you're a consumer and you're buying and you're like, yikes, there are, so many potential. Um,
Mhm.
I'm really worried because I can't afford to pay this out of pocket, and I don't know how to buy a house. I would just say, never fear. Reach out to someone, to your trusted advisor. Take some time to sit down and visit with that individual and really get educated
Mhm.
um, on the process, and that everything's going to work out.
Mhm. Well, and I think too, it's like when you have that right tribe of people, you have the right experts, it's going to work out. It's going to be fine. Because if it doesn't work out, we're going to be in quite a pickle. If buyers are having to pay for their own agent, and I don't think it's fair to say realtors should get paid less. Like all of that, it's like this system has worked for a reason, and as we see kind of the perfect storm here, Andy, of like higher rates and inflation, and everything's more expensive, and then you add this on top of it, your heart can't break a little bit when you think of what the consumer's reading, or what the consumers they might be creating their own narrative as they hear all of this. So all that we can do is continue to educate, empower, follow along and see what happens. But like we said, the cream always rises, and I think everything's gonna be just fine.
It is going to be okay, Kayla.
We're gonna
It
be
definitely
okay.
is. Yeah. Kayla, what are you seeing this week kind of in rates? Where are we
Mhm.
at?
So today, I get rate updates on my phone, and even when rates are going to go up, I get a voicemail that says lock now. So today we got a voicemail, lock now, for certain situations. But a little above 7, you can see, that 30-year fixed. So we're seeing it up just a smidge today, and you can see the difference. There's Freddie Mac too, but we're hovering around 7. So I truly thought we'd be a little lower by now, but I still have hope that, we're going to see just a slower decline. Um, it's kind of inevitable at this point that we will see that. It just hasn't been as quick. So,
Hmm.
and North
Yeah.
Dakota housing rates, I looked today, I'm looking at them now. They haven't moved at all. So you can lock between 4.75 um, to 5.25 if you're a first time home buyer. If you're a repeat or have higher income, it's between 7 and 8%. So, and that's with down payment assistance. So, um, yeah, so you can see that those
Sure.
have remained, I feel like for weeks that's remained the same.
Hmm. It's still pretty attractive and a great option for those that qualify. How many North Dakota housing out of, the bunch that you do, how many North Dakota housing loans do you see or applicants?
I have about, when I look at my closed pipeline, about 30% of my business is North Dakota housing. And here's the thing. There's a product with North Dakota housing where you can lock it in long term on new construction. And there was a time where those rates were better than, secondary market traditional rates. So North Dakota housing is even a good option for repeat buyers sometimes. And in that case, it was for new construction. So just depending on the scenario, the rates, again, depending on your income, can be super attractive and excellent for first time buyers.
Mhm.
So, and
Awesome.
we do
Fantastic.
get questions on Minnesota housing now and then. Um, and we don't offer the Minnesota housing anymore where I'm located, but essentially with Minnesota housing, it's a second mortgage. So you're taking out another loan versus North Dakota housing. You essentially it's prorated. So that amount that you're getting for down payment assistance can be forgiven um, based on the time that you're in the property. So that's kind of a cool thing about North Dakota.
Mhm. Yeah, North Dakota, I mean, has an almost unbeatable program. Minnesota's is still a great program, more of kind of like a you say second mortgage, a grant or bond program. Um, and I have had some clients that have done it, but it just seems like overwhelmingly the lenders are not as educated. It's not as an attractive of a program for sure,
Mhm.
but it is great. I just had a, a single individual with kids last year get into a house using it, and I mean, it was a make or break,
Yeah, it kind of
situation
is.
for that person.
Well, with Minnesota too, you can usually get more money, but here's the downside from a lender perspective. If we're approving you for $2,000 a month, but then you're going to borrow 12,000 for down payment, closing costs, we're it's usually I think over a 10-year term. So you're now taking out another loan. So now that 2,000 that you're a month approved for a month, that becomes a little less because you're now taking on a loan for down payment. So that has to be included in your debt to income. So that's really the downside. But I've used the program with other companies that I've worked with before, and it can be a game changer, just like North Dakota Housing.
Sure. Well, hey, it's great to have options out there. And again, for those that are maybe listening or watching, reach out to your lender and ask and say, hey, what programs might be available for me in my situation?
Mhm.
Which makes it all the more important to have, well, in your case, like a discovery call, Kayla.
Mhm. Absolutely, because I think that's one of the questions is, what side of the river do you wanna be on? Because Fargo Moorhead is, right here, so it makes a difference. I mean, look at that 4.75 rate to 8%. That's a huge difference, so
Huge. Well, Kayla,
mhm,
I saw just maybe, one final piece today. You said the market's picking up in your area. It's still a little bit slow in our area and in Lakes Country. We had, I mean, I think you certainly had the burst of snow that we did, maybe not quite as much, but we definitely saw things tail off as far as activity and through the Easter holiday. But people are out there and they're looking. And did you know, Kayla, that the best week to list your house is actually almost here?
could it be mid-April, like April 14th?
Ooh,
Am I right?
close, close. I have to look here,
Oh,
Kayla.
wow.
Okay, so this is from a Realtor.com survey looking at housing
Mm,
trends, and it basically found the best week. Oh, you actually were right on. I think you said the 14th. I was thinking the 16th, but the best week to put your house on the market is April 14th to the 20th. So if sellers want to see a lot of interest in their homes, sell quickly and pocket some extra cash, this is the best time to grab on to the busy spring market. What do you think about that?
is this nationwide?
I
When I
don't.
got the article, I didn't know either, but in my head, I'm like, "Yes, in around this area for sure." And then I thought, I have a buddy down in Florida, and he was telling me that they're having friends over this weekend just to, like, grill out because it's the last weekend until it gets really hot and they can't be outside much. So I'm wondering, like, maybe nationally that's what it is, but I
Mhm.
agree with that. I think if you're looking at a 60-day close, hypothetically, from the time you offer till you move in, you're looking to move in the summer, and I think that's everyone's goal. I mean, I hear all the time, "I don't wanna move in the winter, like, it's awful." So, I think that the market heats up when it warms up outside. So
But then I think it's conversely, like if you go down south, like take Arizona for instance, like the summer
mhm,
is
yeah,
winter for them. People stay inside. But I would say that this is probably, people have gotten through the holidays, they've made their New Year's resolutions like
they've
into
gotten their
April.
tax refund.
Yes, gotten the tax refund,
Mhm,
so, hey, people are or they're anticipating a refund, and so, yeah,
mhm,
that I think that could all make sense and
yeah,
stack everything in a seller's favor if the timing
mhm.
is right to put their house on the market.
So, what you're saying is that if you're thinking about listing, you should think about listing within the next 2 weeks.
That's kinda what I'm saying, Kayla.
Gotcha. Okay, 'kay. I'll spread the word. I love it.
Fantastic. Well, Kayla, great as always to connect, thanks for, kinda talking part 2 of the NAR settlement and also a variety of other things, and,
Mhm.
looking forward to kinda see how this unfolds and, just kind of what
Yeah,
materializes and how we're able to better serve our clients going forward.
we'll see what happens, and we'll be here for it.
Have a great week, Kayla.
I will if you will.
See ya.
Bye.